What's up, guys? I wanted to get my thoughts out on the rumor of a Horizon Zero Dawn remake. I feel like I've been making content on Horizon Forbidden West, and I probably should feel some sort of way about these rumors. You'll have to forgive me. I'm not skilled in front of the camera, so I wrote everything down, jotted my thoughts down just to sort of keep it in my head. Also, my 1 year old got ahead of this hold of this notebook. So if you're wondering why it kind of looks like Michael J. Fox tried to make an origami swan out of it, that would be why. So just to qualify, first off, my experience with the Horizon franchise, I've platinumed Zero Dawn. I've beat it, played the expansion, beat that as well. Um, and currently in Forbidden West, I'm towards the end of the game, and I plan to platinum that as well. But I got to wrap up some of like the trophies that are just kind of nuisance trophies, like the one that's about the board game and a couple others. But I do plan on platinum that, so I feel like I have enough investment in the Horizon franchise to justify either my desire or lack thereof for this remake. Now, I want to say I'm not super surprised when I heard about this remake because, well, first off, we have The Last of Us 1 remake that was a remake of a game that had already been remastered on the previous system. And so it just sort of led me to believe that Sony is going to be remake happy here in the near future. Um, I would just say that when it comes down to Sony, I've loved a lot of their games. Obviously, I love the Horizon games. I beat God of War. I probably will be beating God of War Ragnarok. I love Ghost of Tsushima. There's one of their games that's literally my favorite game of all time that I'll probably talk about towards the end of the video, but it's in reference to this, so I kind of want to set that one aside for now. Um, but unfortunately, when I look at Sony, I look at a company that likes to copy success but doesn't generally have their own successful ideas. And you could sort of say Sony does what Nintendo did, maybe, if you wanted to make a catchy little phrase to it. But just as a few examples of Sony just blatantly copying something else that somebody was successful at, we have the PlayStation All Stars copy of Smash Brothers. We have when the Wii came out and the motion control gimmick was in full effect. Granted, both Microsoft and Sony tried to throw their hat in that ring. While I think the Kinect was sort of a gaming abomination, at least it tried to do something different, whereas Sony with the PlayStation Move kind of just really made something that was very derivative and very similar to the functionality of the Wii. Um, and I think you can look lately at the tiered system of PlayStation Plus and how they've kind of copied Game Pass. Now, I don't find that copy as egregious because I think anything that's going to provide a value proposition to the players is a good idea. But nonetheless, they find something that somebody else succeeds at and they tend to copy it. So what I think happened here and with The Last of Us 1 remake is these are probably Sony looking at what Nintendo was quote unquote getting away with a lot of the Switch ports that came over from the Wii U. Mario Kart 8 probably being the most successful of those. Unfortunately, Sony probably looked at that and thought to themselves, oh, you can just sell your games again and they'll sell really well. Why don't we just do that? But Sony doesn't understand the reason that those Wii U ports to the Switch worked is because the Wii U failed as a platform. So those games were basically new experiences being sold to a different user base, particularly because Nintendo doesn't do a whole lot of Switch ports, or not Switch ports, PC ports. My problem. And so there's literally there was a large part of their new base that had not had the chance to play all those Wii U games. So they were kind of, if you haven't seen it, it's new to you. You know that old rerun adage. Well, it's kind of the same here with these games. Um, I will say that I think one of the things that kind of irks me about this, because I don't believe that Horizon Zero Dawn needs a remake. I believe there are other games that are more deserving. About to talk about what I think is one of those here in a second. But when I look at how Sony has treated the Horizon franchise, it's kind of baffling that they do, everything that they've done with it after the fact, because I look at Horizon Zero Dawn, you kind of sabotaged that game releasing it so close to Breath of the Wild. And then the sequel comes around with Forbidden West, and you kind of did the same sabotage job to that with Elden Ring. So I keep looking at Sony like, if you believe in this franchise, why do you keep putting it in such horrible positions? And if you're wanting to monetize the franchise, probably the best way to monetize the franchise would not be to sabotage the actual release of the games to begin with. So I don't feel that it's needed. I do feel it's a Sony cash grab, but I'm not going to fault Sony for trying to grab cash. Just try to have some sort of imagination and do something different that's going to make me want to play the game again. Um, Add some content. Now I know there's talk of a multiplayer mode. I really don't think that's going to encourage me to play the game again. And I've seen some other videos talking about this where they say, hey, if you bought The Last of Us 1 remake, well, this is on you. I'm not going to say that because honestly, this video, or not video, this game was obviously greenlit long before The Last of Us 1 remake was announced. Now, if you bought The Last of Us 1 remake, you're encouraging Sony to keep doing this, but no, these games were probably greenlit in a similar window. I'm not going to sit here and say, hey, if you bought The Last of Us remake, shame on you. That's your choice and your decision. But I will say this about the Horizon Zero Dawn. You're talking about a game that not only has it had a PS4 release, it's had a PS5 patch, and now it's had a PC port. So it's reached a very large audience. Meanwhile, the game that I didn't talk about, which is one of my favorite games of all time, Bloodborne, this game is still locked at 30 frames per second. Forget about a PC port, forget about a remake. This game has not even gotten a PS5 patch. Okay, I feel as if Sony really wants to do this. You have much more deserving titles that you could be doing this with. So I guess that in closing, even though I still love Horizon, even though I'm probably going to continue to make content, at least shorts, until I finish out the game, uh, a remake of Horizon Zero Dawn is not something that's necessary or something that anyone asked for. It's just Sony being greedy, looking at what other companies have gotten away with and trying to get away with it themselves in a derivative manner like they always do. Anyways, guys, if you've made it to this point in the video, I appreciate you sticking with me. There's so many different things you could be doing with your entertainment time. So just to check out my opinion on a game means a lot to me. So thank you. And if it's your first time with me, hopefully you stick around. And until next time, guys, get awesome.